What is going on, guys? Before we get started today, I just want to say thanks to all of you guys for your support and your criticisms. Thank you so much, and a special thanks goes out to Ultraboard 1, Paul santos-dize, and rhysjonsmusic. Your comments were really supportive, guys, and I do appreciate that. I will have links for all of these guys' channels in the description, so definitely go check them out. Today we have the battle of the resurrected ex-sidekicks turned anti-heroes. James Buchanan Barnes, the Winter Soldier, versus Jason Peter Todd, the Red Hood. Let's get started. Bucky Barnes was but a teenage boy when he started schooling full-grown men in hand-to-hand combat. As a result of his natural skills, he was sent off for military training and was eventually paired alongside Captain America as his sidekick Bucky during World War II. He presumably died after a failed mission, but was actually frozen in ice, only to later be discovered by the Soviet military, who brainwashed him and used him as a perfect assassin known as the Winter Soldier. Jason Todd was an orphan on the streets of Gotham who had to steal to survive. Batman saw potential in Jason, and after 6 months of rigorous training, he adopted him as Dick Grayson's successor under the mantle of Robin. Jason was captured by the Joker while attempting to find his mother and was subsequently killed by a bomb the Joker planted. He was later resurrected by a reality-changing event and set off to take revenge on the Joker for killing him and on Batman for not avenging his death. He looked to seize control of Gotham under his new identity as the Red Hood. As both combatants are only human, we will analyze their speed, strength, and agility in a single category. Let's see who has the best physical attributes. The Soviets were searching for the remains of Captain America when they stumbled onto Bucky. They thawed his frozen body out because they believed he was injected with the Super Soldier Serum, presumably because he has shown Olympic-level strength, speed, agility, acrobatics, and endurance. But actually, he never took the serum. This, however, didn't deter the Soviets from outfitting him with a bionic arm capable of superhuman strength and enhanced reaction time. Anyone who takes up the identity of Robin must possess one key element: acrobatic skill. Jason Todd was no exception to that rule. Although he doesn't possess the natural grace of Dick Grayson, he is indeed very agile and acrobatic. And under the Red Hood, he led Batman and Nightwing in a chase around Gotham. They were unsuccessful in apprehending him. He is at peak physical condition with strength, reflexes, stamina, and endurance, all on an Olympic level. Arguably, this may be due to the dip he took in the Lazarus Pit at the hands of the League of Shadows. In other words, both fighters are, from a physical standpoint, at the absolute best a human being can be without subjecting themselves to gamma radiation, radioactive spider bites, etc. Red Hood definitely has a bit of an edge with his acrobatic ability, but it isn't enough to tip the scales. Winter Soldier's bionic arm ultimately wins him this round. Super strength, even if it comes from a single limb, cannot be ignored. Point: the Winter Soldier. As I've said before, it would be useless to pit any two persons against one another if they don't know how to fight. Let's find out who is the better hand-to-hand combatant. Long before he was the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes demonstrated a natural talent in the art of fighting. In fact, when he was recovered by the Soviets, he had no memory of his past, but he never lost his ability to fight. It was because he was so skilled that the Soviet Union molded him into an assassin. Bucky was trained by a couple of World War II hand-to-hand luminaries, as well as receiving further training from Cap himself. As the Winter Soldier, he honed his craft, becoming a master of stealth and an excellent scout. The Winter Soldier has managed to topple several of Marvel's greatest skilled fighters, such as Black Widow, Batroc the Leaper, and even Wolverine. Barnes has proven himself to be Captain America's equal in combat, despite Cap being roughly 3 times faster and stronger. The Red Hood possesses all of the skills of someone trained by the Bat. After his death and resurrection, he was taken in by Ra's and Talia al Ghul. Much like Bucky, he didn't remember his past or even have a sense of the world around him, but his body still knew how to fight. His mind was brought back by the Lazarus Pit, and Todd traveled the world to receive the same caliber of training Batman himself had, as well as learning deadlier tactics. Todd has an extremely brutal style and isn't hesitant to use lethal force. He is a master of Aikido, Capoeira, Karate, Ninjutsu, Savate, Krav Maga, Kickboxing, and Taekwondo. He was also tutored in stealth, strategy, and surveillance. The Red Hood single-handedly defeated the Teen Titans, has defeated Ra's al Ghul, knocked out Lady Shiva, and has even defeated the Dark Knight himself. Winter Soldier is an extremely deadly hand-to-hand fighter and is comparatively on par with Captain America. However, the Red Hood is not only on par with his former mentor, but has proven that he is skilled enough to defeat him. Point: the Red Hood. These two have access to enough weapons and equipment to end a small war, but who has the better arsenal? And more importantly, who is more proficient with his weapons? Let's settle this. A quick note before we dive into our last topic. In the New 52, Jason acquired a pair of mystic blades known as the All Blades. Not much is known about them other than the fact that they require blood to be activated. We would have to make too many assumptions about the blades, so they will not be used in this scenario. As a Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes has had decades of experience with various weapons. He is an expert marksman who is highly skilled in sharpshooting and knife throwing. He would be sent out to assassinate a target and would even be able to make them look like accidents. After each mission, he would be put in a cryogenic stasis, which dramatically decreased his aging process. His uniform as the Winter Soldier is composed of chainmail and steel mesh. It is both impact and bullet resistant. Not to mention, it also has built-in surveillance jamming. The Winter Soldier regularly carries high-caliber sniper rifles, automatic firearms, explosives, and combat knives. In Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Barnes is seen wearing some form of goggles which appear to be bullet resistant, but his greatest weapon lies right off the edge of his shoulder. Although Bucky's cybernetic arm has already been mentioned, it does much more than grant him super strength. It has built-in sensors which allow him to pass through metal detectors without turning them off. It can use an electromagnetic pulse to shut down electronic devices, and it can emit bolts of electrical energy. Barnes has been equipped with mental implants which allow him to summon and control his arm if ever detached. Nick Fury recently upgraded the limb to look and feel like a real arm, granting him an element of surprise for those who aren't aware of the modified appendage. It is arguable whether or not his arm can be affected by an EMP, since it can emit an EMP itself. When Jason Todd was resurrected, he was convinced by Talia al Ghul to take a step in his training that Batman never did: learn to use lethal weapons. He applied the marksmanship he learned from throwing batarangs to firearms. Although he is part of the Bat family, he doesn't follow Batman's code of never killing. The Red Hood has access to military-grade weaponry including firearms, explosives, RPGs, and high-end computer equipment and gadgetry. He is regularly seen to use a pair of semi-automatic handguns, his version of batarangs, tasers, and grenades. His weapon of choice, however, is a flame dagger, which is a replica of the knives used by Ra's al Ghul. Jason has had many versions of his Red Hood costume, with the latest being very similar to the Batman Beyond costume. It features glider wings in the forearms and a built-in grappling hook. His boots and gauntlets each house 8 storage compartments useful for hiding gadgets. His red helmet provides some degree of protection, but can be penetrated. It is equipped with a radio transmitter/receiver as well as night vision. And if that isn't enough, his helmet can also be triggered to explode after Jason has removed it. The Red Hood certainly has a wide range of toys, with an armory on par with that of Batman's. I would be inclined to believe he has a larger arsenal than that of the Winter Soldier's. Bigger isn't always better though. The Winter Soldier's experience with decades worth of weapons training and practice ultimately give him the advantage.
Virtually every conflict we have a record of, Winter Soldier is there, always working from the shadows.
The final point goes to the Winter Soldier. This was probably the hardest matchup I could have chosen in terms of evenly matched opponents. These characters are virtually identical up to a certain point. They were both sidekicks to iconic heroes, they both died or were at least presumed dead, they were both resurrected, and I use that term loosely since again Bucky never actually died. Ironically, a famous comic book expression regarding death was, "The only people who stay dead in comics are Bucky, Jason Todd, and Uncle Ben." Both Bucky and Jason came back in 2005. What the fuck? Anyways, before I get off track here, the Winter Soldier would defeat the Red Hood, but only by a hair, or should I say an arm? The Red Hood has genius level intellect and is a brilliant tactician, and as with the majority of the Bat family, he can beat just about anyone with enough prep time, but prep isn't allowed in my analysis. It's a safe bet that these guys will use every trick in the book at each other. If Winter Soldier doesn't snipe Red Hood down from a distance, then it will come down to hand-to-hand combat. Now, I truly believe Jason is a better skilled fighter than the Winter Soldier, which is why he got the points. But Bucky isn't far behind. His bionic arm not only closes the gap between them, but it gives the Winter Soldier a huge advantage in close range combat. Couple that with his superior weapons knowledge and he becomes too much for the Red Hood to handle. It is important to note, at one point, both ex-sidekicks adopted the mantle of his respective mentor. Jason Todd's Batman was very militaristic and absolutely brutal. Bucky Barnes' Captain America, on the other hand, was full of self-doubt and had morals the Winter Soldier never did. That version of Jason would destroy that version of Bucky. But as far as today goes, the winner is the Winter Soldier. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Remember to like, favorite, share this video with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. That helps me out tremendously. Also be sure to check out my previous video, Broly vs. Hulk. The link for that will be down in the description. And again, this is just my personal opinion, so take to the comment section to express yours. Stay tuned, guys. I have way more content coming your way. This is Mysterious King 64 signing off.